Are you ready for a sad story?
I think so.
Let's light that fire over there. It's cold outside. Mind if I play some piano while I tell this story?
No, please go ahead.
There was once a man who lived in a country mountain town. He had a good heart and dared to dream big. There was another town on the other side of the mountain range. This was the desert town. But the desert town had a big problem. It didn't receive much water. This caused many problems for those people living there, and often the town would run out of water, leading to droughts and sometimes even death. Long and expensive horse carriage rides had to bring the water across in containers. The steep and rocky terrain made it impossible for a water pipe to flow between the towns. But this man wanted to make a difference. He looked at his son and said,
"Watch me, son. I'm gonna build a water pipe that will connect through the mountains to the town far over there. I'll bring water to the desert and help the people."
So the man set off. He learned hard mathematics, engineering, planning, and design. He spent day after day, night after night, for many years in his dusty study coming up with his engineering plan. But when the town people learned what he was doing, instead of supporting him, they'd say,
"You're crazy, man. This will never work. Have you seen the size of those mountains? There's absolutely no way you can connect a water pipe between them. Stop wasting your time. You're mad."
But the man said,
"One day you'll see I am right."
So the man continued his pursuit and kept persisting with his design. Even when the man went shopping in town, people would ridicule him for starting such a daring dream. But he still went on. After many years of hard work, alone in his study, the man had finally finished his designs. He showed the completed design to his son, who said,
"This looks great, Dad. I'm proud of you."
With the design now completed, the man then approached the governor of the state to get funding to construct his water pipe.
"My governor, my design is complete. I've spent many years working on this. Believe me, this water pipe will work."
The governor looked at the man and hesitated. He said,
"If I fund this project, the town people will unelect me. This is expensive and no one believes you can do this. They all think it's a waste of time and money."
But the governor looked back again at the man and into his eyes. He could see the man was a good person and could see the true self-belief behind him. The governor then responded,
"Okay, fine. I will support this project. The public mob will not like this one bit. They'll all think you're crazy. But I know you are a great engineer and I think you can do this. You have my support."
Grateful, the man thanked the governor and set off to construct the water pipeline.
"Son, it's happening."
With the funding now approved, the man organized the construction of the massive pipeline. Thousands of workers were employed. They cleared the land, felled trees, carved way into the mountainside, and constructed one of the biggest pipelines the country had ever seen. The water pipeline curved through the forest and mountainside like a snake. But as each month of construction that passed, more members of the public would ridicule the man whenever they saw him out. They would say,
"Give up, you loser. You're a waste of space. Stupid old man costing the state so much money with his ridiculous plan. It's never going to work."
And as the construction of the water pipe went on further, more ridicule was directed at the man.
"This is the biggest waste of money of all time. It's impossible. Shame on you."
Even the town newspaper joined in and publicly ridiculed the man, making fun of him in cartoons. These cartoons were then all seen by members of the public. The pipeline was 95% complete and the moment of truth was nearing. Only a fraction of construction was left to complete the water pipeline. But a great sense of fear started to grow over the man.
What if the town people are right? What if this doesn't work? What if I'm just a failure?
Then his thoughts started to really turn on him.
They are right. The water pipe will never work.
These thoughts started to echo around his head like a nightmare.
"You're crazy, man. This will never work. Have you seen the size of those mountains? There's absolutely no way you can connect a water pipe between them. Stop wasting your time."
He was so close to finishing, but to him it seemed like an eternity now. And then one starry night, the man jumped onto his horse and rode off into the evening. He rode far and came across a beautiful still lake surrounded by pine trees. The moon and the stars shone brightly across the lake. He got off his horse and stepped calmly into the water. He walked deeper and deeper into the side of the lake. And then he disappeared below the surface. Silence fell over the lake. The next morning, a local ranger spotted the poor man's body. Only 2 people showed up to this man's funeral, his son and the governor. The following week, the testing of the water pipeline was to begin. A small crowd had gathered around the pump station and the water pipe, eager to see it fail. The man's son pushed through the crowd.
Ignorant crowd, I will show them.
He pushed through. He put his hands on the wheel to start the water pump in the pipeline. With a strong grip, he turned the wheel. He heard nothing. There was nothing but silence. Crowd members began to say,
"We told you this was never gonna work."
But then suddenly, the roaring sound of the huge water pump came alive. And then, like a flood, water began to gush out along the pipe. Pipes were now aflush with water, which snaked its way all the way through the forest and mountain and miraculously began to gush out the other side into the desert town. The water pipe was a phenomenal success, an engineering marvel. The crowd was stunned. Bewildered and astonished, they didn't know what to say. And like a group of cowardly sheep, they walked off. They were filled with deep regret in the way they had treated the man and ridiculed him. The newspapers issued public apologies and paid tribute to the man's legacy. The town people were ashamed at their behavior, and although their actions would never repay the man, they put up a big statue of him in the town. They also made a statue of him and his horse down by the lake. The engineering marvel he built was the longest water pipeline of its kind anywhere in the world at its time. The man went on to be remembered as one of the nation's greatest engineers in history. And that very same pipeline is still working today 120 years later, giving water to more than 100,000 people each day. You see, there's going to be times in your life where it's going to get tough. The crowd may turn against you, but always persevere. Always believe and never give up. Always seek out that inner strength that sees things through. If you know what you're doing is good and right, believe in yourself. Don't listen to the crowd, never give up. I have many more stories for another time.